Zender, who is a sound engineer who produces live recordings and studio recordings. And I thought we'd just welcome you to our YouTube channel, Kyle, and ask you a few questions about your business.
Thanks for having me, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So, Kyle, I'm really curious about the type of opportunities you have here, the type of equipment that you have, and what types of things you're able to do then for your clients. Would you like to tell me a little bit about those opportunities?
Absolutely. I've got, basically this is very similar to what you would see in a big professional studio, just a little bit smaller scale. And a lot of the things are just as nice, and even some of the things are exactly the same things that they would use in a big production studio. So, be happy to show you what I've got. Okay, so I record with Pro Tools, and my interface is this Digio 2 rack. It's a pretty nice little unit because you can put 8 analog inputs in it, and it's got an optical input as well, so I can have an ADAT, which is a digital input. And so what I've got above here is my analog preamp. It's an ATI 8MX2. ATI and API are kind of the same brand, and very, very nice preamps. Super clean, super warm. And above that, I've got actually 2 separate ADAT or digital preamps to get another 8 channels. And this is kind of my backup, this PreSonus one. And then I've got another 8 channel guy here. It's made by Audient, and that's another super nice preamp. So I've got 16 channels I can do at once of very nice preamps, which is super advantageous, and especially because I do a lot of live recording. So I can take this rig down to, say, the Toad Tavern, and I have a splitter snake which takes the XLR feeds from the stage, so each individual feed from the stage, and splits it into 2 different cables. So I can plug one set of cables into my recording unit here, and I can plug the other set of cables into the soundboard of the Toad, and I can do a completely separate multi-track recording using all of this gear here. And above that here is an Avalon U5 direct box, which is kind of the industry standard in direct boxes, actually. It's super nice for bass and acoustic guitar.
Nice.
So this is definitely a nice little rack here, and the fact that it's portable is awesome. And
so a lot of functionality, and you have the multi-use then in studio.
Exactly.
And then if you're going to go out and do some live work, you can easily transport it to where you're going.
Exactly, and that's how I designed it, really, is so it can function as both my studio rack here, and I can just throw the covers on it and take it wherever I need to go. So I can do mobile recording anywhere. And it really does work great. I can't complain.
So that's a great dual kind of opportunity for your clients, that they know that they can come in studio and that you can also travel to their live gigs.
Absolutely.
And assist them.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah.
you have both of those tracks in terms of customer service that you can offer to bands and recording artists.
Definitely, and I think you have to, if you're in my shoes, you kind of have to have some options like that, to where that's another way that I can network with people, is if, for instance, they come to play the Toad, and what I do is I put out a feeler email outlining all of my live recording setup here, and what I do and what I charge, and it's really amazing how many people are just like, yes, we need
that help.
We need this, and it's a great price usually, and just an excellent way to kind of get people to come in here actually as well. So they kind of get these live recordings and they're like, wow, this is amazing. And then they, just kind of the next step is they're like, well, do you record in the studio? And I'm like, well, you should come to my house.
Come and see what I'm doing.
Alright, so here's kind of the brain of the whole operation, the computer. You gotta have a good computer if you want to do home recording. This iMac does a great job. And it also is, you know, not as portable as a laptop, but at the same time I do take it places, and it travels well. So, and this is a shot here of Pro Tools. This is the program that I use. And, you know, basically it's just a digital mixer. You've got channel strips, you've got EQs, compressors, you've got busing, routing, you've got everything, and you can see your waves and you can edit your waves, and really you can do whatever you want to do to audio. And it's kind of the one that people usually run with. So there's several other main ones. Cubase, Logic, you might hear a lot. But kind of Pro Tools has been my mainstay. And I've got some decent little KRK monitors here. It's key to have something to monitor with, and you know, I feel like those are pretty good. And just having some good headphones is another key. And yeah, this is where I spend a lot of my time, looking at this screen and working with music.
And so you have the playback, and you can then adjust all of the controls to get the perfect sound that you'd like to
Absolutely.
to hear.
So
and then the playback allows you to then share that with the musicians as well.
absolutely. And so I can go through here, and if I want to hear just, for instance, I want to hear just my drums, then I can solo out my drums, and you know, kind of add in each part, you know, drums and bass, guitar, vocals. And I can control anything I want, really. I can control the volumes of things, I can control the tones of things with EQs. The options are really immense once you kind of get into the program, into the inner workings of it. It's really amazing, you know. This kind of, you know, I always talk to people, and we're always like, how did they even make recordings back in the
Yeah.
day? When they, you know,
Technology.
it's just so amazing what you can do. And I think that's really why the home recording thing is really just, it's huge
Right.
these days, is because you can just do, as long as you've got, you know, good microphones and good preamps, you can really get just as good of sounds as they can at studios.
At any major studio.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. All right, well, you've seen my little command center there, so let's take a look at my room. And it's kind of essential for home recording to have some kind of room that's treated, because you're not going to, you know, normally it's not going to be the ideal environment like a studio would be, to where this room is designed for acoustics and such. So you kind of got to play with the room a little bit. You got to dampen sound. You got to, you know, do bass traps and things, and kind of tune your room, your space, as best you possibly can. And we'll start right here with, you gotta have good microphones, and
Right.
you gotta have a lot of them too if you want to do drums. That's kind of one of the things that separates a home studio, is whether or not you can do good drums. And it definitely takes a lot of microphones. Condenser microphones are great. They pick up the room sound great, and we close mic everything. So at the end of the day, on a drum set, you could be looking for anywhere from, you know, 10 to 15 mics on a drum set.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's quite a process.
What an art form, you know, when you get right down to it.
It
How
truly
exciting.
is. And when it comes to doing that type of thing, you know, there's so many different ways you can do it. You got to kind of know exactly what you're doing to make it happen right. As I was saying, you got to have your room treated, and as you can see behind me, I've built baffles, and the goal of that is to trap sound waves or eliminate reflections. You don't want your sound bouncing around, because that can cause problems in your recording, and can, you know, it's very undesirable. So I've got three main baffles that are decked out with foam, and I've got foam all over my ceilings and walls, and I've even got a comforter over here, an old comforter. Anything you can really do in your home environment to just, like I said, dampen the sound, eliminate reflections. We're working with not a huge room here, so maybe if I had a bigger room, I would do things a little bit differently. But in this environment, I'm looking for tight, sound with clean and as clean as possible. And usually I have it's perfect space to get a drum set in here. Any smaller and it would be a little bit dicey, but I usually have drums set up down here, and I can do multiple things at once, but I like to kind of just do things individually so we can kind of get, focus on one thing at a time, get the best sound we can, get the best takes we can. And so if the drums aren't here, I'll take these walls and I'll move them around depending on what we were doing. I can make like a little vocal booth back here. I can take an amp and I can surround it with baffles and do a whole bunch of different things. So very handy tools to have. Not everybody has that luxury in their home studio, but luckily, it worked out for me to get some baffles going, and it was really cheap to make too. They're just homemade. And,
wonderful.
So
you just been solving all sorts of problems very creatively, and doing so on a budget and making the whole thing happen. It's really impressive, Kyle.
Well, thanks.
And I'm looking forward. I mean, I'm going to, with your permission, I'll probably come back with a band and observe your process and then share with our viewing audience a recorded sound that you're able to produce in your studio.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay, I can't help myself. I'm seeing all of these pedals down here. Many bands might have them and maybe not, so maybe give me an idea of what you have to offer.
Yes, absolutely. I think it kind of is a huge advantage to playing instruments yourself if you're going to be recording. I think I probably wouldn't trust somebody who wasn't a musician themselves to record my music, but it helps a lot for me to have options as far as pedals and amps go, and I've got all kinds of guitars and basses and stuff, and we can mess around with things and try to find the right sound for the right song.
Well, what are some of these particular
This is my little guitar rig that I use for live, and this is a wah-wah pedal.
Okay.
For the funk and the blues, and then these are both distortion or gain pedals. Kind of get a little bit of grit on your sound. Obviously, tuner is probably the most important pedal. Is what I always tell everybody. You got to be in tune, and that's one thing you cannot escape on recording. If you're out of tune, the tape does not lie. This is a compressor, which takes your sound and kind of tightens it up if you need it to. I use it sometimes all the time, or sometimes just as an effect. It's really interesting, different pedal that not everybody uses, but they can be real amazing tone shapers, and they can do amazing things. And this is a volume pedal here. It basically is a really cool tool. Another thing that not very many people use, but I think is just amazing. Where so if the heel's down here, I'm getting no sound through, and then toe down is full sound through. So you can swell in sounds, and you can do all kinds of different things with your volume, and just that is something that's kind of a signature to my playing personally that I really dig. And then this whole section here, I've got 3 different delay pedals. Delay is another favorite effect of mine. It just kind of adds a little nice fatness to your sound, and obviously it adds some repeats to your whatever you play to kind of it just is a very cool sound. This is an analog delay pedal, and this is a digital one, and the difference being that this one is a lot cleaner sounding and and I can do tap tempo with this, so I can control the tempo of it. And this big green mean guy here is another. It's a really crazy pedal. It does delay and it does looping. So you'll see a lot of people messing with loops, and this is kind of one of the main pedals that they do. So you can record, a small chunk of something, and you can play over it, and you can reverse it, and you can slow it down in halftime. You can do all kinds of different stuff with it, which is great for studio and live. And this last one is a reverb pedal, and
you just have one of everything.
It's kind of a thing where over time, this isn't something I just like went out and bought all these not the same day. Like it's a thing where you kind of over the years you buy a pedal, you try it out, you figure out if you like it, and does it give you what you want, and then does it become part of your board, and this guy's right here is just power. It powers everything with clean power. So
it's just so amazing, the creativity of the human mind, to think that we've taken, from prehistoric times, basic instrumentation into this brand new, technology, ever-evolving technology.
Absolutely.
And the beautiful music that we're able to make as a result. Well, Kyle, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with us today. We've learned a lot about what people can do at a home studio. I only have a few additional questions that I'd like to ask, specifically about how you like to coordinate the musicians and the recording process. Could you give me a little bit of an idea about how you like to set up schedules with your recording artists?
Absolutely. And that's one thing that is very different as far as a home studio versus a professional studio, where it is my home too, and I do live here with my girlfriend, so I always have to take her into account. I have to make some time for her, and I try to do as much as I can during days when she's gone, but at the same time, I try to work with people. If they can only do evenings, then I do as much as I possibly can. I do live sound too, so that kind of takes out a couple of nights at least a week for me that I have to be doing that. But it seems like most people, between either some days or weeknights and then weekends, it seems like between those, I'm able to kind of get everybody in together at one of those times, if that's possible. But if it's not, we just kind of piece things together and do as much as we can with people's availability, because it's also not just me. Everybody's got their crazy schedules, so it's really important to just try to be flexible and try to find some times that work. And it, as I kind of said earlier with my process, it does work to just kind of, whenever somebody is available, say your drummer's available, this day to come in and do his parts, not everybody else can come in, that is totally fine. Me and him can work, and then we can send what we do out to everybody else so they can hear it. And, it's a juggling act, but luckily it works out well.
Well, that's some really great flexibility, especially because a lot of musicians do hold other positions, right?
Absolutely.
Other jobs. And so to have that type of flexibility is really wonderful. And not everyone has to be at the same place at the same time. But if they have a standard practice period where they all are together, and you're able to accommodate that. So essentially you just interview everybody up front when you're getting ready to do your initial recordings.
Sure.
And you find out their availabilities, and you kind of set them on a track of availability at that point so they know what to expect. And then you just build upon it from there.
Exactly.
Right. Well, thanks again, Kyle, for everything. I look forward to following the progress of recording a local band with you in the upcoming months.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Not enough time to find what's inside. Alternate worlds stuck in overdrive.